Jai Opetaia has told The Ring that he won't knock Gilberto Ramirez if he wants to fight Jake Paul. He says this, and he quotes, "He's chasing coin. You can't knock him if he wants to fight Jake Paul for a huge lump sum of money. Who turned that down? I'd bash Jake Paul for a couple mil too." Listen, I get that point of view. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that because guess what? On one side of the story, Jake Paul finally fighting a legitimate champion would be awesome. And you talk about him fighting a guy like Zerto would be impressive for Jake Paul to actually go take that on. And massive props to Jake Paul. If he is able to pull off a world championship fight at cruiserweight, massive props because his game plan ultimately comes to fruition and he works out for him. But from the standpoint of a boxing fan, knowing that Zerto versus Jai Opetaia is one of the best and biggest fights to make in boxing right now, it's unfortunate news. Because having Jake Paul possibly mess up one of the best and biggest fights to make in boxing right now would be disheartening. And even to go a step further, it makes you wonder what's next for Jai Opetaia. Because other breaking news that just came out, the WBC has now ordered an immediate rematch between Badou Jack and Noah McMillan for Jack's Cruiserweight Championship on Monday afternoon. This was after a successful appeal from McMillan's promoter, Don King Promotions. That fight was questionable in and of itself. I had Noel winning that fight. And I was shocked when Badou Jack ended up winning it. And obviously the controversy was very, very strong surrounding that fight. And in return, they're now forced to have an immediate rematch of that fight. Therefore, another one of the belts, the WBC, is now held up. So Jai Opetaia will not be able to unify belts if the Zerto Jake Paul fight happens. And Jai Opetaia is a guy that I believe firmly is not only the best cruiserweight and could easily be, not easily, but could become undisputed champion at cruiserweight. But Jai Opetaia is a guy that I think could make some noise at the heavyweight division if he so chooses. This holds up all those plans, and that's what stinks about the situation. If I'm Jai Opetaia, of course, I understand why Zerto does the fight, but you have to wonder what's next for him. Because in my opinion, Jai Opetaia is one of the most underrated boxers in the world right now. He is a guy that, in my opinion, is just outside of the pound-for-pound top 10 list. And the only reason I can't put him in there yet is simply due to resume. Not his fault either, which is what's so painful about that. I think that if he got the fight against Zerto, he does this thing, and I think he could become undisputed. And I think he could make noise at heavyweight as well. I truly do believe that he is so gifted and so talented as a fighter that he would become that guy, or at least one of those guys in that top 10 pound-for-pound list. I just cannot put him in that list yet, simply because of resume. And this situation would only hinder him more. And it stinks because I want to see Jai Opetaia. When you see a guy of that talent and that caliber, you want to see a guy like Jai Opetaia thrive. You want to see him get the opportunities to prove to people why he is that guy. And unfortunately, that situation might not come to fruition in the near future. So what could Jai Opetaia possibly do? Well, obviously, the only one that comes to mind is a fight with CBS. That was the unification that people were hyping up before CBS took the Zerto fight, but that could make sense. I think Jai Opetaia does easy work on CBS, but it still might be the best and biggest fight for Jai Opetaia to make if Zerto takes the Jake Paul fight. And unfortunately, with Zerto being the co-main event for the Jake Paul fight, I see it happening. It just stinks. Because on one side, I'll say it one more time. I understand it. The financial benefit is far greater with Jake Paul than it is for Jai Opetaia. The Jake Paul bag is huge. You're going to get some legit money in that fight. But also, props to Jake Paul for being willing to step in the ring with a guy like Zerto, if that is true. I'm just a boxing purist fan, and not possibly getting Jai Opetaia versus Zerto is an unfortunate event. It's something that I wish would not be the case.